Hey yogis, do you have really tight hips? First, you're not alone. Second, I put together the short flow. We have 6 different shapes I'm gonna walk you through to help you get a sense of release in those tight hip areas. So welcome to Lauren Yoga. Please like or subscribe to my channel if you like these videos. All right, to begin, we're gonna start in child's pose. So meet me on the mat, spread your knees wide, and then send your hips back and let your forehead melt down to the mat. Take a few breaths here, let your hips settle into the shape. And as you let gravity do its thing, try and send your hips back towards your heels and down towards the mat. So we'll just get a little bit deeper stretch. On an inhale, press back up to all fours. Child's pose always feels so good. And now we're just going to take some unstructured free hip circles from all fours. So just send your hips forward, then send your hips back to the right heel and then the left. Just making big circles with your hips. Maintain the breath. And then reverse your circle in the opposite direction. And feel free if there's a side that feels a little bit more sticky or tight than the other, just hold there. It's all good. And then after you're done, come back to that all fours neutral position. From here, we're going to step back to plank. And then you're going to pick up your right foot and step it in between your hands to the top of the mat for a low lunge. So these set of shapes that I put together today stretch the hips on all different sides. So you can think about your hips as having a front side, a back side, and a side. So right here in this lunge, you'll actually feel it in your left hip flexor. So that's the front part of the hip that's being stretched. So breathe here. You can gently rock backward and forward. This is where I'm usually so tight after sitting all day. And then plant your hands, step back to plank again. From here, switch sides. Left foot comes forward. And then this time you'll feel it on that right hip flexor. Gently rock forward and backwards. Be gentle. And notice here if one side or one hip, again, is a little bit tighter or feeling more sensation. Perfect. Plant the hands, step back to plank, and then you're just going to set your knees down, coming to seated position. So we already worked the front part of our hips with those hip circles. Even with child's pose, we started to sink into the inner thighs. And so we're going to do butterfly position to work the inner thighs again. So sit crisscross. And I want you to sit nice and tall, pulling up and out of that lower back. So this, you might already feel some sensation, and that's okay. You can always take pillows. If your knees don't quite fold out and it'd feel more comfortable with a little bit of height to support you here, go for it. Grab 2 pillows, set them right under the knees. Once you're there, again, pull up and out of that low back. Then I want you to gently walk your hands forward and down in front of you. Maintain a nice long straight back. And then once you feel that, you've hit your edge, fold the neck and head down. So we're going to be here for a few breaths. See if you can find some relaxation here as you notice any tension melt away in the hips. Hips are tight for a lot of us, and it's also an area of the body where we can hold a lot of tension and emotion. So if anything's coming up for you, that's okay and normal. Just be gentle. I know sometimes I have some emotions come up, so let me know in the comments if you feel any of that with some of these stretches too. One more breath here at the bottom. And then exhale, lift your torso back up to that nice lengthened seated position. From here, we're gonna stay in butterfly or this crisscross, but you're gonna shift your torso over towards the direction of your right thigh and then fold over that right thigh. And while you're here, because you're folding right, you're gonna push down with that left booty cheek to really get more of an extension along the side body as you're folding over. Take an inhale, then sit up nice and tall again, and then switch to the other side. So shift your torso, spin it towards that left thigh, sit up nice and tall, and then fold over that leg. And sometimes after a long work day or a long week, I notice that there's a specific area of the body that's tight to me. Could be my legs, it could be my low back, it could be my hips. So I like doing these flows that are specifically targeting a potentially tight area of the body. So I'll continue doing those vids if that's helpful to you. Deep inhale. Then sit up nice and tall. All right, from here, pull your knees back into center. Then we're gonna send our legs nice and long. Now from here, we're gonna do a wide-legged fold, and everyone's shape here will look really different. So you are gonna open up to a V shape or a little bit wider, again, depending on where your body's at. Either shape is good. So once you find your shape, I want your toes pointed towards the ceiling so we're not turning our feet inward or outward. This stretch is really gonna work our inner thighs. All right. Okay, from here, sit up nice and tall. And then exhale, same thing. Slowly walk your hands forward and down the mat. Once you find your edge, kind of that last point where you can maintain that straight spine, then you can begin to drop the neck. Let gravity do the work. Melt down and notice how good it feels to slow down. We move and do so many things throughout the week that some of these longer holds and stretches can feel really nice to just connect with yourself and slow down. This is also a position where you can place pillows underneath your knees and have a little bit of a bend if it's feeling a little too much. One last breath. Inhale. Exhale, sit yourself back up. Nice work. I'm sure your legs are saying hello, as well as your inner thighs. And then again, fold the knees back together. This time we're gonna stack our shins on top of each other. So whereas before we were crisscross, now you're gonna place, let's start with our right shin. Your right shin across and stacked on top of your left shin. So it's okay, again, everyone's bodies will look a little bit different, but this is gonna help us stretch the outer hip and outer thigh. So once you're here, you know the drill. Inhale, sit up nice and tall. Then begin to walk your hands down the mat. Keep the spine long until you find your edge. Whew. I'm feeling this one today. We'll do 3 more really big breaths here. Deep inhale. Exhale, sit yourself back up. Nice work. We're going to switch sides, but before we do, plant the feet in front of you and then just send the knees right and left to recenter and just release. I'm sure that right outer hip feels it right now, but hopefully it feels good. A nice sense of relief and release. And then let's take it on our left side. So this time the right shin is underneath, left shin stacks on top. Try and get them, as parallel to the edge of your mat as you can. And then inhale, sit up nice and tall. And exhale, walk your hands down the mat and melt in the pose. And here you want to keep your feet flexed to protect the knee. So keep that in mind when you're holding in this shape. One more breath here. Inhale, then exhale, walk your hands back towards the body, sit up nice and tall, release those legs, windshield wiper the knees, dropping them side to side. And then just meet back in that crisscross position. Hands come to prayer. Thank you, yogis, for joining class. I hope you feel much more relaxed and found a little bit of release in your hips. Namaste.